Hitting the arcades in 1986, this bally midway game is a classic amongst Western arcade game fans, as well as home gamers in general. Up to 3 simultaneous players can control gigantic monsters, who are formerly human. The game's protagonists are George, a King Kong-like gigantic gorilla transformed by an experimental vitamin, Lizzie, a Godzilla-like dinosaur transformed by a radioactive lake, and Ralph, a giant werewolf who is transformed by a food additive. As monsters, they need to destroy all the buildings of a high-rise city to advance to the next level, while eating people and destroying helicopters, tanks, taxis, police cars, boats, and trams along the way. Why? Well, why not? The Amstrad port is really colourful, which is always nice to see. The game also moves at a fairly reasonable pace too. Sadly, I find the controls to be really awkward when it comes to jumping off a building. For some reason, I just can't do it. I know how it should be done, but it doesn't work for me. That aside, as a party game, it's actually really good fun. One interesting fact about this version is that it contains the basement level music of the arcade game Trojan. Kind of odd, but even more odd when you consider Trojan was never actually released on the CPC. Running in EGA mode, this port for the MS-DOS does look the part. It has the arcade splash screen, graphics that resemble the original, and even the playability, for the most part. The game isn't without its issues though. For the start, your monster tends to warp to the top of the building before you are actually at the very top. It's as if you still have a few more steps to go, but suddenly, you're on top of the building. The collision detection is also questionable at times when knocking down buildings. With that said, this is still a fun game. The Amiga port is identical to the MS-DOS port, apart from that it runs much faster, which in turn makes it more playable. The Amiga version also has better sound effects, however, it's still lacking any music. you'd expect with this being a Bally Midway arcade game, it's got to be on an Atari console. In fact, it's on more than one. First off, we have the 7800 version. While it may not be the most pretty version, it sure is cute. I love the cuddly look to George the gorilla. It's as if he's been given to the Japanese, who then redesigned him into one of their mascots. Well, this Atari 8-bit home computer version has music, which is something, but besides that, there's nothing much really to say. Plays well enough, I guess. Can you believe Atari actually released Rampage for the 2600? And it's good! Now come on, you have to admit that the 2600 is a very limited system. However, it has managed to pull off a playable version of what is easily identifiable as Rampage. Definitely one you should own for your Atari 2600. The Apple II port of Rampage does look really nice, and it even controls well too. That is, until a little action appears on screen. Unfortunately, the Apple II port of Rampage is plagued with slowdown, which really does hurt the enjoyment factor. Back to Atari, and this time we take a look at the ST release. You probably expected this to be like the Amiga and MS-DOS versions, but it turns out to be a completely originally developed version just for the ST. It plays at a really nice pace and even includes some background music. While maybe not the best, it does add to the frantic gameplay when you have a few friends joining you in for the fun. As you'd expect with a ZX Spectrum version, there's quite a bit of colour clashing here and there, which can cause you to lose track of your character at times. But besides that, this version is also pretty good fun to play with your friends. As a single player game, well, it's kind of a yawn fest. Yet again, another good port for the Commodore 64. It's games like this that really do show the potential this system had for games. Surprise! We're back with Atari again, but this time it's for the last time. Here we can see the Lynx port, and what a fantastic version it is! Sprites with more detail than any other version we've seen so far, and some nice little jingles to accompany the action. But wait! There's even a new character to choose from who takes the form of a giant rat. Sega themselves reprogrammed this Master System port, and what a fantastic job they've done. The gameplay is fluid and smooth. There really isn't much to complain about apart from a little sprite flicker here and there. The game even has FM audio, which is kind of odd considering it was never released in Japan, the only part of the world that had Master Systems with the FM audio capability. SNES owners who have never played another console port of Rampage probably think the port by Data East on the SNES is great. In reality though, it's pretty chunky to play and looks kind of ugly, especially compared to the likes of the Master System and Atari Lynx. It doesn't even feature Ralph the Wolf. And let's take a look at all those versions of Rampage running side by side.